During my recovery, since I was so near death but didn't die, I was able to transfer, or I was able to shift to different realms or different worlds or different dimensions, if you will. At this point, because this happened 9 years ago, for personal reasons, I do consider it traveling to different dimensions now. So I was temporarily given the power to travel to different dimensions at will. I would close my eyes. It would take a while. It wouldn't be immediate, but I would close my eyes, and then at some point I would shift to a different. I would just shift to a different dimension, and I was able to shift back. Shifting back was almost right away. And I could shift to a different dimension, shift back, shift to a different one, and shift back. Um, it is only temporary. A quick answer for it is being so close to death, I prematurely awakened my pineal gland. So if you want to look into the occurrences in my book and what happened in it, if you research the pineal gland, it'll give you more emphasis and more understanding on what happened for me. So, but then with in regards to what happened as far as almost dying but didn't, and also able to travel to these different dimensions, I stopped everything cold turkey. I stopped the drug dealing lifestyle. I stopped smoking. I stopped smoking cigarettes. I stopped smoking weed. I stopped drinking. I stopped it all. I had to, because I was like, drugs. There's different dimensions. There's different worlds. A shift away. There's a shift away. There's a different world, and you want to talk to me about drugs? I was like, I mean, there's a whole other world. Is a shift away from our life, and you want to talk about drugs? What do drugs do? Drugs do this. I mean, I'm okay with doing this. I was like, to be able to shift. So yeah, drugs. No, I had to figure this out. I was like, I need to stay as sober as I can to figure out what just happened, and it happened 9 years ago. So in a sense, I figured it out. So I did previously start, or through these years, I did start playing with the dimensions. Um, I'll get into that in a few minutes. But it all is involved with what I call the universal lie. And the universal lie is the world that we live in. It's a lie. And this universal lie was given to us before we even knew about God, before we knew about heaven or hell, before we knew about even that was your mom and that was your dad. It was even given to us before that. The universal lie was given not when you were born, that was the process, but it was actually given to us the moment you were, the day you were born. Not, because we're the process of being born is 9 months, so it didn't happen at that point, but the day you were born, the day you came out, and the day you opened your eyes into this world with both of your eyes, that was the universal lie. The 3D world we live in is the universal lie. And what I mean by that is, this is my theory on that. So, if anybody that's read my book knows that when I was able to transfer or shift to different worlds, I was able to do it. It was in a sequence. Okay, and the sequence was I would close my eyes, and from there I would it would be sound. So the first thing that would shift was my ears would shift, or the sense of hearing was shifted. So I close my eyes and I would hear these sounds, and then as I would try to recognize these sounds or identify the sounds, from there my senses or my feelings would shift to where all of a sudden I'm feeling grass or water or a textured material or something. So or air going through my fingers. So first was sound, and then was touch, and then finally I would open my eyes, and the eyes would be the last thing, and the eyes are which the eyes were the last part, but they were also the most significant part. They were the final part that put me into this dimension, if you will. And so, why do I compare it to being born? Because when we're born, what happens? The first thing that happens in a pregnancy, the first thing that's made materialized is the heartbeat, and then followed by the other parts of the senses. I don't know. I didn't Google all that, but what I do know is that the eyes are the last development in the womb. The eyes are last, and they're not even done yet when you're first born. when you're first born, you're you could actually consider legally blind because of how poor your eyesight is. And so, the way I see it in my theory, based off of what happened to me, when it's the same thing. It's more of the same. So we're coming into this world. We're born. Entered into the womb, and first everything else is developing, but it's developing as stitches to keep us here. And so another angle to look at it is when I'm talking about shifting. This is what I mean. If you're right here and you shift your eyesight this way, and from there you shift back, and you shift this way, and you shift back. That's simple shifting, right? But then if you close your eye, then your view is right here. You close the other one, open this one. Now your view is here. But if you go back and forth, it seems like all you're doing is shifting from here, and then shifting to there, and then shifting back to there. So our brains are telling us that the shifting is just from here to here to here to here is the exact same as here to here to here. But that's our subconscious telling us based off the universal lie that was given to us from the very beginning. And the lie is because as you open your eyes, you see the 3D world you live in. But we don't see in 3D. We see in 2 dimensions. This eye is only seeing length and width. It is not seeing depth. Same thing with this eye. It's only seeing length and width. We see depth when we have both eyes looking forward. That is our depth perception. And so when it comes to depth perception, that is where the lie is. Because this is only seeing 2D, and this is only seeing 2D. Then the third dimension, depth, that's where the universal lie is. There is no depth perception, but there is, because we tell ourselves there is. So me seeing that from that distance, what I'm seeing from that distance isn't really there, but my mind makes it there. Mind over matter, right? And the universal lie binds us because we tell ourselves that, me looking in through this eye, seeing this side, and me looking on this eye, seeing this side, all that's happening is I'm shifting my eyesight from here to there, from here to there, as if I'm shifting from here to there. But that's not true. When you close your eye right here, this is another dimension. This is the first dimension, or second, however you want to look at it. This isn't shifting your views or your eyesight. This is another dimension. The first or the second, I don't know, but there's only one or two. And this, see how when you open both, it's out of focus. As it goes into focus, it's bringing you into the third dimension that we are in, that we're stuck in, and that we are bound to with our eyes, through our eyes. And with that, the human body is part of the binding, because there's our left hemisphere and our right hemisphere. The left hemisphere controls the right side of the body, and the right hemisphere controls the left side of the body. And so it's split, and because it's split, we can't make sense of anything unless we use both of sides at the same time. And that's on purpose as well, because as long as one eye is closed, this starts to, it gets out of focus. It doesn't make sense. It's confusing, which causes you to want to open your other eye and look with both eyes and make sense of it. But you're bringing it into making sense. You're bringing it into the reality, or the real. You're making it real, even though it may not or may not have been real before you did that. And then they say, every touch is a sense to the brain, to where did you really touch it, or did your brain sensors say that you touched it? So, which in a sense, we are all just living in our brains, but we're all on this plane, or this level of living as a whole. So, in this third dimension, which is not real, because we only see 2. We only see this dimension, and then this dimension brings us to the third dimension. And so people say, we live in a 3D world. I don't see it as a 3D world. I see it as we live in 3 dimensions, which equal a world. Okay, as weird as that sounds. But a way of playing with dimensions, the easy way, you look straight and then you put up your hands, and as you put up your hands, you can see through them. It's like, how come I can see through my hands? Well, the universal lie tells us we can see through our hands because they're not in focus. But that's not true, because all you gotta do is still not looking at your hands, close one of your eyes, and you're no longer seeing through that hand. That hand is solid. It's still out of focus, but now it's solid. You'll go back, and then you can see through your hands again. You close this eye once again. Now this hand is solid, but it was already solid. But your mind told you that you could see through it, and that's where the universal lie keeps us bound by the rules that our brain made sense of from the time we were born. And we don't remember being born, but our parents do. And we don't remember the first years of our lives because it was sent. It was made for us to condition us to stay in this realm, this world, this dimension. And then I feel that 90% of our bodies, of our minds, is to keep us bound to this world. That's why we only have like 10 to 15% of our brain. It's the rest of it's keeping us here. It's giving us the universal lie to keep us from phasing out, or astral projecting, or what have you. So yeah, knowing me with my theories, knowing that this is a whole dimension and this is a whole dimension, and all it takes, and this dimension is controlled by this side of the hemisphere of my brain, and vice versa. Then that tells me that being able to shift, it's just a shift away. These different realms and worlds are just a shift away. But on this dimension, the next shifting on this dimension, there's two dimensions that are shifted together to bring us this dimension, the third dimension. I know, it's strange, right? I know, but it's so simple at the same time. Talking about these dimensions and the 3D world, and being able to play with the dimensions. It sounds weird, but people do it all the time, and they've been doing it for years. This is a 3D book. In a 3D book, it has 2D images, 2D pictures, but they're 3D images inside the 2D pictures. In order to do these, they give you a way in the beginning of the book forward. It gives you different ways of how to do it, how to see these pictures. But sadly, most people I show these books to, 90%, I'll say 80. We'll go 80. 80% of the people I show this book to have no idea how to do this. They have no idea how to open up and see using the third eye, which is depth perception. We use depth perception all the time, but that's because you're using it based off the universal lie that was given to you from birth. You don't understand it, or a person doesn't understand it and can't control it to where they see it for what it is, and be able to, you have to listen to this. You have to listen to what it's saying to do. You have to unlearn the training of your brain to be able to see the images. And from there, it's, once you see first you could never see the images. Then once you see the image, you can't not see the image. And the way these work is, you can't just look and see the image. You also have to have an understanding of what the image is supposed to be. So here's a winged horse. So you're already thinking of a winged horse. You get the image of a winged horse in your mind, and then the image starts to come out. So, but even before you see the image, you have to think of the image even before you can see a 3D image. So when I do play with the dimensions. When I play with the dimensions, unless you know how to play with the ABC version of playing with dimensions, you wouldn't be able to do the XYZ versions that I did with playing with the dimensions. However, I stopped playing with the dimensions, funny as it sounds, and I stopped playing with the dimensions because